Okay, Dean Hollin for ZoomerRadio here in the Florida Keys, and in Key West specifically, and I'm talking with Paul Menta from Key West Legal Rum. I'm intrigued by the name right off the bat. Are there illegal rums?
I mean, of course there is. I mean, look, there's a lot of illegal in Key West. So when you're actually legal, you got to call it out. And then everybody has the same reaction. Yes. They laugh. They're like, Key West legal? Legal? That's no fun. I came down here for the illegals. Yeah.
How long have you been in the rum business?
It'll be 13 years. Background more of a chef.
Okay.
I actually just was up in Toronto.
Oh, really?
Yeah, did a bunch of cooking up there at a cooking school for a bunch of people. Cooked some stuff they had and everything. I did that for 30 years, so we'll call this my somewhat retirement of getting out of the restaurant industry and going into the rum industry, which kind of go hand in hand.
They do, and I love food, but this sounds more fun.
I mean, it's funny, you move from one thing to another, and all of a sudden you discover how much you miss one part of something. Mm-hmm. So it's brought back, I love doing the rum because it's science, it's cooking. Our base company is called Chef Distilled. So, I do things a little out of the normal that weren't accepted in the beginning very well. And now 12 years later, like I'll give you an example. We take the barrels for the one you're looking at here, Spanish Maria, or as we call it, Bad Bitch,
right?
Or our raw and unfiltered, and we put them in the ocean. I don't know if you drove down here, but as far as you drove to get here, say from Miami, our water comes from past that. So, water is very expensive here.
Okay.
And the other thing
Which seems bizarre because you're surrounded by it.
Yeah,
but of course it's all salt water.
Salt water. But for a chef, salt water is really good. Think about cured salmon or cured beef. When that fresh water gets away from it, it's stable. The flavors are stronger because fresh water is an enzyme. It eats its flavors. So I put my barrels in the ocean instead of filling them up with regular fresh water.
Okay.
Bring them back. Once they stop leaking, dump them out, and we wait until we see a nice brine inside of the barrel. So I did that just because that's how my mind works as a cook, right? And I didn't realize as well as life works, you learn by dumb luck, that it was also going to buffer the pH in it. So what that means is rum in barrels is generally really acidic. A lot of people tell you, rum's supposed to be, it's supposed to burn when it goes down. No, it's not. It's not. It should be warm in your chest and warm and everything, but it shouldn't be burning and everything. And a lot of times that has to do with acidity. So the salt raises the pH level and actually smooths it out and everything. So I like to say to people, in the beginning, so I asked this question twice at a big conference, and the second time I asked it, the guy said, son, if you ask me that again, I'm going to have to embarrass you because I don't want to call you an idiot. And everybody had a big laugh about it. But he didn't tell me why I couldn't salt cure barrels. Okay. So for me, if you can't give me a reason, I'm going to go do it.
Yep.
Hence why I've gotten in a lot of trouble in my life, but we'll get into that later. So anyway, I did it, and knock on wood, man, 12 years later, we've cornered the market on that. You got to have an ocean right next to your distillery, which I do, and the pH and all this. It's people come to me and go, well, what's the best rum? Who makes the best rum in the world? And I don't believe there's an actual best. I believe local. Like I had some stuff in Canada and some different things that I was like, wow, like this flavor is right here. And so it's what's local and what's there. So our flavor is of Key West, and that essence of the ocean in there really gives it something unique.
Yeah,
so
I'll bet.
It's just kind of it all worked out.
Is that in this one as well?
Oh yeah.
And I'm going to taste this in a second. Mm-hmm. Is this the only rum that you make, or do you have?
We make probably about 12 or 13 different. Listen, you're in Key West, okay? It's like an ice cream parlor with rum.
Yeah.
You got to have a bunch of different flavors. We have people from all over the world. Okay. So everybody likes something different.
Is this like a flagship?
Or this one does. Look, let's just face it. The name.
Yeah.
Bad Bitch. Everybody's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I got to get this for my friend.
That was my reaction.
Yeah, she's going to be, But the real story about this is the woman on here. Her name is Spanish Marie. So Spanish Marie was our rum runner back in Prohibition times. But what everybody doesn't know is there was a lot of things done on her. She was 6 foot tall, blonde eyes, brown hair. Well, no, she wasn't. She was 5 foot tall, brown eyes. She came from Spain on an arranged marriage to Cuba at 17. Got really good with them. Loved to dance. Not really sure what happened to that guy. And she's on the ferry, comes over to Key West, falls in love with Charlie Waite, who was one of our rum runners.
Okay.
Gets involved with the business, but is kind of a mom in the dance studio and very smart, investing their money in real estate and doing stuff like that. Charlie gets killed by the Coast Guard. She takes over, and all of a sudden, she's now got the first auto mechanic and auto body shop in South Florida. Why? Besides sailboats, they had those cool old wooden power boats that were really fast.
Yep.
So she's making sure she can fix them as well. And they're running rum. She creates her own transmission station here with her own language.
Wow.
So the Coast Guard would get sent one way. They would speak a different language. The rum would come in. Everybody would protect her because at the end of the day, people say, you guys are, everything in Key West, they give you a lot of names. You're a smuggler, you're this. No, we're not. We're rum runners. Because they would bring the rum from Cuba, where all the sugar cane was, to us. In high proof, we would cut it, and then we were really good at getting it by land or by sea, all over. We did a lot of trade with Canada for whiskey and stuff like that would come back through here and go the other way.
Right.
So, this woman was like an epic. For me, she's my rum superhero because, first of all, let's just face it. Not that we're any better now, but as guys, we're a pain in the ass, let alone a woman in the 20s running
that's what struck
a
me.
man's-based thing. But as my wife likes to say, when they used to come over from Cuba and come over here, a guy would give her a problem.
Yeah.
Short woman, she did carry a knife. And my wife likes to say that she created the first man-made reef, one man at a time. And literally took no crap off of anybody. But ended her life as a really kind grandmother. Everybody thought she disappeared and ran from the law. Prohibition was over. She came back because there was nothing. And if you don't get caught, you can't get put away for anything. So it was just rum running.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, you are not only a chef, and you're not only a distiller. You're a storyteller too, and you're a good one. And a historian.
Well, I love history,
and I love it too. And it's all so. Okay, let's talk about this for a second. I did have a taste because I thought while you're talking about her, I have to taste the rum as well. A beautiful, beautiful product here.
And the difference with this
really
is
interesting, like
Pinot Noir barrels. She used to remember, we just talked about the rum came over in high proof, right? So she would, I always say she made the first cocktail, or at least she would they always would have red wine. Because remember, the water was very expensive.
Yeah.
She'd pour red wine into the rum to cut the proof down. And so I read about this in some notes, in some ship's logs, and I was like, let's age it in Pinot Noir barrels. So I bring those over from France. So this is for somebody who's not like a bourbon or whiskey drinker, that doesn't want the wood tones or the smokiness. So you're going to taste the tannins from the red wine that are very people are used to a red wine tannin, and then it brings out the caramel as well.
Absolutely.
In the rum, because when rum's made, if it's distilled correctly and everything, there is 0 sugar in rum when it comes out of the still.
Okay.
Which most people don't know.
Yeah.
Rum gets a bad name for this, but sugar is put back in. And generally it's put back in to mask other flavors that maybe will make things burn or we don't want to see. So it's a really interesting. I thought it was a interesting kind of thing to do, and it gives us down here in Key West, when you're going to find out overall, you have to have a little bit of everything for everybody. We're on such a small, compact island, but if you've been around it, there is something for everybody here. Like I had people in today. They were German. Well, what could we do with the kids that would be something they never saw? And I said, do you guys have bicycles? We can get them. I said, yeah, go rent some bicycles. What if we get lost? I said, if you hit one ocean, turn around until you hit another one.
Go back the other way.
You're not going to, And I sent them to the cemetery for tomorrow morning. And I said, go to the cemetery and read the headstones. If you can translate them, you'll see our sense of humor. And wait till about 10:30, 11 and watch what happens. And they said, what? I said, and you'll see all the iguanas out sunning themselves, and your kids are going to freak out. And so that's the trip tomorrow. And, and for us, it's we just hit the dregs of winter here.
Yes.
We just hit 70. You notice how I'm dressed?
Yes, I know.
I mean, come on, dude. This is 70 degrees, man. Like, if 5 more degrees, iguanas will be falling out of the trees. They will go into high.
Oh, really?
I swear to you that it happened at one point. We had like a 60 degree for us is like
They fall out of the trees?
locals actually fall the trees, but that's usually in the evening. But we have a thing called the vortex where people take pictures of locals that are found laying around at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's, but it literally they'll go into a hibernation mode.
Yeah.
They're just not used to it. And it's funny, we always kid that there's iguanas falling from the sky, you know.
But it can happen.
But it happens. And one year we had a record-breaking cold snap about 13 or 14 years ago. And a guy, because it's always a Florida man, right?
Yeah.
When it's a Key West man, that Key West man is gathering all these iguanas up in a vehicle. Well, you put so many together, some warmth starts to happen. Right about 11 o'clock, I think it was down somewhere off of Southern Street. All of a sudden, you had hundreds of iguanas running around, people freaking out because now they're coming back to out of hibernation and running around. And yeah, I mean, that explains. If that doesn't explain the lifestyle in our kind of strange, odd little island of misfit toys here, you know, it's.
I love it. It was great. If I didn't have, you've given me like 7 more reasons to come back to Key West. Okay, Paul, been delightful talking to you.
Pleasure talking to you.
Wonderful product. Been talking.
Glad you enjoy it.
Paul Menta, Key West Legal Distillery. Okay, this is Dean Hollin reporting from the Florida Keys for Zoomer Radio.